Hello and welcome to What Did I Do Today? Today I wanted to mess with fluid simulation and I just wanted to kind of make a dumb little thing. So it was either between a man holding a hose or a fountain. So I lost some energy and I decided to go with the fountain. Before we could do anything else, we need a fountain. So first we start with a basic shape, and then we give it something to sit on. After which we build up, up, and up. And what is a fountain without those fun little runoffs? Those little stream creators, those little spouts that spit things. Now, I know that the add-on that I use can be a little bit finicky, so I just decided with some really basic, like, portholes, just runoff spaces in general. There is a faster way to do this, but again, I'm just sort of coasting through it. More or less eager to get to the simulation side than on the modeling side. Also to note, this little circle, this torus, if you will, that I'm placing at the bottom here, the original goal for that was to have what's called an outflow. So what I'm designating as my inflow is what spits out the liquid or the smoke simulation, and the outflow will kind of suck it up or erase it. But plans change. So now that we have something of a fountain, we can finally get some motion and life into this thing. And we do that by setting up the simulation. Add a domain so that it can all have an ecosystem to live within. Make sure we know what the inflow is, what the objects are, that stuff will flow around. And set up the outflow so that we can get rid of some of the liquid. And once we've done all that's left to do is render. And to be fair, this render session actually went a lot faster than I thought it was going to be. I was even debating on increasing the amount of resolution that the simulation takes place at, which would increase the time to render, or the time to bake, but I was tempted. And we are met with disaster. So as I said earlier, the add-on that I'm working with simulation is a demo, and B, has its little finicky quirks. This being one of them, where sometimes you set something as its object, and for some reason, the liquid just ignores it anyway and just pretends that it's not there. Now, the only reason why it's not going through the floor, I assume, is because I actually did line up the bottom of the domain with the floor, with the flat plane. But I'm sure that if I sunk the domain a little lower, then it would sink through the floor and just be all down there. So, what the rest of the day sort of became was bake, release the bake, bake again, run the test, and just repeat that over and over and over again. So I don't know exactly what the problem was. I increased the simulation's recognition of how thick the object was, and that didn't seem to help. I considered re-adding a solidifier to the object. I didn't, but I could probably try that at a later time. Just because sometimes for these simulations, if your obstacle is too thin, then it has a hard time understanding that that's something it's supposed to run into. So even though I did add a solidify modifier to the bowls, it might not have been enough. Once you've started to bake reset bake, and then rebake. And you do that for, I would say, more than, I guess, 3 seconds. You start to run out of patience. So by the time I did this, like the 5th or 6th time, I was pretty over it. And I wanted to move on to something else. Because if there's one thing that really drains my energy, it's when you change a bullet point, a feature, or a factor, and it does nothing to the result. And you just keep testing one by one each little thing, and it still does nothing. And you're just like, well, then what's wrong with it? So with that, experimentation it's done for the night. I will resume in the morning. I'm like a villain of some superhero story. I was so close. So close.